Most of us remember the rush of playing hide and seek, covering your eyes, counting loud and fast to 50, and the adrenaline of scrambling to fold yourself into the smallest, darkest space you can find. But to actually play this game, we have to do something entirely counterintuitive. We actively suppress our deepest survival instincts. We voluntarily isolate ourselves from the safety of the group, and we completely refuse to make a sound. Think about the mechanical vulnerability that creates. What happens if you execute those rules perfectly, sitting completely defenseless in the dark, and the person walking down the hall isn't the friend you started the game with? By giving up our natural defenses, we build an environment that strongly favors a predator. The rules of the game inadvertently create the perfect camouflage for an intruder to operate completely undetected. The game functions as a voluntary training ground for isolation. We treat it as play, but it systematically strips away the safety nets we usually rely on. We see the danger of the rule of silence firsthand in a case from a dense wooded neighborhood in August. During a late-night game, a 14-year-old boy separates from his friends and crouches behind a fallen log in pitch-black woods. As he waits, the sensory deprivation of the dark takes over. He hears heavy, human footsteps approach through the leaves and stop directly nearby. Then, a low voice begins whispering. Any logical person in the woods at night would shout to their friends, but the psychological lock of the game demands silence. Calling out means losing, so he holds his breath. When the round ends, he learns the designated seeker never entered that part of the woods. Another child corroborates the anomaly, confirming he saw an unknown, tall man silently standing among the trees, watching them play. Enforced quietness acted as the ultimate cover. It masked a physical threat as playful suspense, neutralizing his primary defense against a predator. Moving indoors, we encounter a different problem: territorial isolation. Two teenagers playing inside a dark, empty house learned this when they realized the game forces you into incredibly vulnerable positions. This blueprint layout shows why hiding deep inside a closet or under a bed is a dead end with zero exit paths. While one boy hides upstairs, the front door opens. A figure walks upstairs, completely blocking the hallway. Realizing the danger is real, the boys abandon their hiding spots. They frantically break the boundaries of the game, desperately sprinting past the stairs, out the back door, and running straight to a neighbor's house. When a simulated threat is replaced by an actual emergency, the spatial dynamics completely invert. A clever hiding spot instantly becomes an inescapable cage. Our final case study demonstrates predatory manipulation. A strange older teenager named Keith walked up to a group of teens playing basketball on a rural property, inviting himself into their afternoon. Keith explicitly suggested a game of Manhunt and immediately volunteered to be the seeker. He leveraged the game's familiar structure to gain unchallenged access to their sprawling backyard and home. The countdown provided a perfect reconnaissance phase. While the teens scattered and hid themselves, Keith bypassed the game entirely. He vanished unchecked. The evidence of his motive appeared later that evening. The narrator found a weathered piece of rope deliberately placed beneath his bedroom window. That night, a dark figure returned, softly walking up to the glass and scratching at the window pane until the boy's father fired a shotgun. Keith weaponized the mechanics of the game as a Trojan horse. He convinced his targets to isolate themselves, granting him free rein to evaluate the property. These encounters leave a lasting psychological toll. Long after the police leave, none of these survivors can easily view their own homes, backyards, or the nearby woods as the safe spaces they once were. Ordinary environmental sounds, a creaking floorboard or rustling leaves, stop being sources of playful suspense. For these players, those sounds became triggers for immediate physical panic. In each of these stories, the boundary between artificial fear and genuine peril collapses. The sense of control that defines a game disappears the moment the threat becomes physical. Hide and seek is ultimately a childhood simulation. It is a game designed to teach us how to hide from imaginary monsters, leaving us completely unequipped to survive real ones. The realization that you are never actually alone changes the nature of the dark forever.